Andy, my dude, have you heard of the magical website builder known as Squarespace?
Ugh, not another Squarespace ad. I feel like every podcast is sponsored by them.
Hey, don't knock it till you try it. Yes, okay, it is overhyped, but actually it lives up to the hype. Squarespace is like a website fairy godmother. With a click of a button, your site transforms into a beautiful masterpiece.
A website fairy godmother? That sounds interesting. What makes it so magical?
Well, for starters, those slick templates make anyone look like a professional web designer. Pick one, customize the colors and fonts to match your brand, and voila. Plus, the drag-and-drop fluid engine is so easy, your grandma could build a site on Squarespace.
Well, she did knit me a lovely scarf last Christmas. Maybe website design is next.
Exactly. And when you're ready to sell your Nana's handmade scarves online, Squarespace has built-in e-commerce. Add a store with one click. Get flexible payment options. Then watch those sales roll in. And when she wants to teach others her steezy scarf skills, Squarespace's new courses feature is just the ticket. Nana can set up her curriculum and enrollments and payments in a snap and become the next e-knitting influencer.
Oh, wow, you really sold me with the grandma angle. Sign me up for that free trial.
Just go to thenextreel.com/Squarespace and transform your site into a beautiful Squarespace masterpiece.
Well, thanks, Pete. Even though it's overhyped, Squarespace actually sounds perfect for Nana's site's needs. Appreciate the warning on the ads, though. I'll brace myself next time I listen to a podcast.
Anytime. Let me know if you need any help getting that site up and running. Andy, can you believe we've almost hit 700 episodes of The Next Reel?
I know, it's crazy. And with all the other episodes in our family of podcasts, we are well over 1,200 episodes of movie conversation. It's really pretty amazing that we've gotten to have these in-depth movie chats every week for over a decade now.
And we couldn't have done it without our loyal community of film fans. Their support over the years has meant so much.
For sure. That reminds me, we should give the merch store a shout out. Buying shirts from thenextreel.com/merch is a great way listeners can continue to support the show. Plus, they get to sport our great designs.
Absolutely. I think sometimes folks forget we have a variety of shirts, mugs, phone cases, and more available. In fact, a great place to start is with a shirt sporting the Next Reel's logo.
We also have that classic Fast Times Spicoli Surf School tee, or the weirdly popular Rusty's European Tour shirt.
The one from National Lampoon's European Vacation. Why is that so popular?
Search me, but we have sold a ridiculous number of those. I guess there are a lot of Rustys taking trips to Europe?
We're always adding new designs based on movies we've covered, like our brand new design for a streetcar named Desire, featuring a streetcar named Desire. So if you want to rep your love of TNR and films, head to thenextreel.com/merch.
Every purchase helps us continue to have these weekly in-depth conversations. So visit thenextreel.com/merch today.
And as always, thanks for listening and being a part of the Next Reel community. We've got lots more great movie chats coming your way. I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Andy Nelson.
Welcome to The Next Reel. When the movie ends,
our conversation begins.
In just a matter of seconds, you're going to hear a classic episode of this show from back in the day when we called ourselves Movies We Like.
It took us a while to settle into the show's format, so you'll notice some differences as you listen to these episodes. For instance, it takes us a bit of time to actually get into the conversation about the movie. Things like that.
But we're still proud of the conversations about the movies themselves, and we think they're worth keeping in the library.
So enjoy these episodes from our back catalog. And you can become part of our Discord community, learn more about the show, and find out how you can become a supporting member at thenextreel.com.
So thank you, everybody, for downloading and listening to The Next Reel. We appreciate your time and attention, and we hope you enjoy the show. You know, you should stop eating sugar.
Yeah, I should.
I'm telling you, man, I hear you. I hear that snide kind of response, but I'm telling you, sugar, when you get sick, is bad news.
I know.
It's bad news anyway, but it's super. If you want to get healthy fast, cut that sugar, baby. Cut it.
You know what sucks about sugar is, one, this time of year, having kids who have giant buckets of Halloween candy that they're still working through.
That'll be till May.
That makes it hard.
Yeah. What is your plan for Halloween candy? How do you handle that?
They get to work through it for a while, periodically, very slowly. I mean, they'll get like 1 or 2 pieces a day, and then there comes a point where we just kind of chuck it all. Like once we hit another season where they start getting candy and stuff, then we just throw it all away.
We do, Friday night is movie night around here.
Yes.
Around these here parts. And so we do, you get nothing during the week or even on the weekend, but you get 5 pieces of candy from your stash. No questions asked, whatever you want, big or small, from your stash during the movie. And that's it. And if we go to a movie, like if we actually hit the theater, then they can take their own candy and smuggle it in.
Nice.
But that's it. And then, eventually it'll be sent to, like the troops. I don't know why it is that there are all these send candy to the troops programs, right? Do you know of this?
I would think that they would want food or...
like kale.
Yeah, but...
Why do they want a bunch of candy? I don't know. I've got friends who are troops. I feel like I should ask them.
Trying to make our troops diabetic or something.
Right. That seems like not a good plan. That's not in our America's best interest.
No, I saw that too, and I'm like, that just seems so backward.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing. Like I asked my wife, what do you do with it? Well, she takes candy into the schools where she works and gives it to the teachers. I said, really? You want the teachers? Like... teaching our kids all junked out on candy too? Is that the kind of role model we have? It's like teachers go into the teacher's lounge and they just junk up on like old Reese's cups and stuff? I don't think so. That's not very nice. Just saying.
Yeah.
It's been a couple of weeks, but I feel like now you and I have both seen Interstellar, and I think we should just talk briefly about it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well...
You go first.
I was tremendously disappointed by it.
Tremendously? Yeah. That's a little strong.
Not really. I mean, it was visually and orally powerful.
I think you mean orally.
Orally. I had the AU in there. It's just,
Did you spend a lot of time licking the
orally.
movie? Orally.
Not orally. Orally.
Chewed it right up.
It was big, and I saw the 70 millimeter IMAX version, and I will say the IMAX stuff looked pretty gorgeous. Sometimes the non-IMAX stuff looked downright not pretty, particularly at the beginning of the film. But I figured that was what Nolan was after. I don't know, but I don't know. It just the story. It really all revolves around the story, which I found incredibly weak and. As we came to the end, awfully silly, and I couldn't get past the nonsensical turn that it takes, and I just was so not into the movie. It was really a big failure.
It was the end, right, when he discovers the... we don't need to necessarily spoil this when it's still very much in theaters, but it was the end of with the banging.
Yeah, it's the big...
all this banging, right?
It's the big climactic thing, yeah.
Yeah, that's the part that you didn't like.
Nonsense.
Huh. I found myself I saw it with Sophie, and she was, I'm sure that my impression of the film was largely influenced by the things that were important to her, and it was so fascinating watching her react to the daddy-daughter story. And that really, this is a drama, and this is, she really responded emotionally as you would expect, but it was really nice to see, and she just did a lot of holding on to me during this movie, and I really liked that. It was really nice, and so that it held her attention for a good 3 hours was a sign to me that it was kind of worth enjoying. I agree there were some story problems. I think the movie was about an hour too long. And there's a lot, there's a lot of the beginning where, I've seen this, I got it. Move along. Rather than giving me so much story up front that that you can sort of start poking holes in pretty easily. But generally, I thought it was beautiful, and I enjoyed watching it. I don't know that I'll see it again in the theater, certainly, but it's one that it wasn't as bad as I thought. I mean, there were a lot of people who were really lampooning it before I saw it, and it was not as bad. Maybe my expectations were so low that I was pleasantly surprised.
That can happen.
But I will say it's definitely not one of my favorites of his. And I'm sort of learning that his movies generally don't age very well with me. There are some that really do and kind of hold on to their value, but many of them don't. So, anyhow.
Interesting.
Yeah. All right.
I think there's only a couple of his films that just don't work for me.
Like what? Give me one.
Well, this and Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, I know that was one for you.
Yeah,
I like the first two. I also like Dark Knight Rises less. I think that was kind of the second one. Even is not aging as well for me.
Interesting.
But Inception really is the one that holds its value.
Right.
So very well. Anyway, all right. Let's tell the people where we're from.
Yeah, where are we from?
Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. It's The Next Reel. I'm Pete Wright. That there's Andy Nelson.
Hey.
And we are dedicated to spoiling the movies that you love. So you should hang out and listen to the show tonight because we're going to do that again. But first, you should head over to thenextreel.com and learn a little bit more about the show, catch up with our back episodes, and join us in the popular social platforms for the discussion. I should say, I haven't said it in a while, it really helps when you head over to iTunes, which is still by far, the number one place where people find and listen to this show, the iTunes podcast directory. If you're an iTunes listener, head over to iTunes and drop us a 5-star review. We would really appreciate it. It's a great way to help other new people discover the show, and we can actually see it. When we get a lot of new reviews, we get a little spike in listenership, and we really appreciate that. So thank you very much in advance. And Andy, it's time for us to check in. Time you know and love for the Instagram, hashtag PonyPrize, hashtag Guess the Movie, hashtag Standy versus the People. How'd we do this week?
It was, we've done better, but it's a great movie, so it's okay.
It's a better question to ask, have we done worse?
We certainly have done worse. Yes, we have.
Then there we go.
There we go. Yes, it wasn't the worst week. It was 1982's Martin Scorsese film The King of Comedy, which is a great movie. And it only took 2 images before newcomer to the crowd, Joe Jolie 23, nailed it. And, it was definitely still in, I think, the fairly early images that were a little difficult to guess. But, Joe Jolie 23 knows that movie inside and out, apparently.
Nicely done. Love the fresh blood in the hashtaggery of the challenge.
Absolutely.
The hashtaggiest of the challenges.
Absolutely, it is.
Welcome to the mix, Joe Jolie.
Yeah, Joe Jolie 23 entered to win the Pony Prize.
And with that, Andrew, let's do trailers. I'm going to go first because I think mine will be faster.
Oh, I was going to... Okay. I think mine will go pretty fast, but go ahead.
Well, this trailer has been out for a little while. I am excited about it because I am a fan of the musical theater. This is the Into the Woods. Rob Marshall directing, James Lapine and Stephen Sondheim doing the music. And it stars Anna Kendrick and Meryl Streep and Johnny Depp and Emily Blunt and Chris Pine. And it's just Mackenzie Mawsey, Christine Baranski. It's all over the place. They got a nice cast in here. And this has always been, this is one of our favorite musicals around the house. And I like that this one is being turned into a feature cinema event. Mostly, I just have a very warm place in my heart for this film. And the other 2 Rob Marshall musical films, I actually quite like, Chicago and 9. And so this, I'm pretty excited about this one. What do you think? Are you a musical fan yourself?
I am. I love musicals. Good ones, at least. I never saw 9. I never heard good things about it, so I skipped it. But I really enjoy Chicago. And, I'm just kind of a fan of musicals in general anyway. And so I am quite excited about Into the Woods. This is a a musical that I have seen a number of times, and there's just a lot of really creative stuff going on with it. And I know there's been stories about stuff that's changing in it, like how it's some of the context is being toned down, like the sexual context. But done by Sondheim, so it's not like somebody else was stepping in and tweaking his stuff. So I still think
Lapine. I mean, like the fact that these guys are, they are bringing their work to the screen. There is something to be said for that.
I agree, and I'm quite thrilled that they're bringing it in, even with the modifications. I think it's probably fine for the silver screen, and I'm just looking forward to seeing it done in a way that just kind of gives us this story in a very cinematic sense.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited about it. And the vines. You go, vines. Anyway, that's me. You go.
And when's yours open?
Oh, I should know that. It's coming very soon. It's coming Christmas, I think. Christmas Day.
I think it is Christmas, at least in limited markets.
December 25th, USA limited markets. That's right.
Yeah. Well, mine is gonna top yours, and
it tugs at my heartstrings.
If it wasn't for the fact that it's not opening this year, I would say this is the film to beat at this year's Oscars. But maybe next year, maybe 2016, which is when it's purported to be released. The film I am talking about, the trailer, is for Iron Sky: The Coming Race. It is the sequel to the hit everybody loves from 2012, Iron Sky, which was about Nazis who set up a secret base on the dark side of the moon in 1945, where they hide out and plan to return to power in 2018. That was what Iron Sky was about. This one is the sequel, and my impression of this, it's kind of, they're at a point where they've done a crowdfunding teaser that's up on Indiegogo, and it is I don't even know what to say, but it looks like a woman who may be the president of the United States. There's a nuclear bomb that goes off in Washington. She hops in a helicopter, flies to apparently Antarctica on a helicopter trip.
Right.
And goes into a secret bunker. She dissolves her hand, and it becomes like a witch hand or something.
No, it's like a lizard hand, sort of a dinosaur hand.
Something, yes. And she puts it on a little secret or a thing on the floor for a hand, kind of like Total Recall, and opens up a secret gate into the hollow center of the Earth, where it is a whole land in the hollow world, which actually is kind of a fun concept. And along comes a dinosaur, a big T-Rex, ridden by none other than Adolf Hitler, who also looks to be like a lizard person of some sort. And that's about the teaser. And I don't even know what to say about it other than I can't believe that this is actually out there and exists, but it makes me laugh that it does.
Does it even count anymore as revisionist history?
Oh, man.
Oh, my goodness. One of these days, somebody's going to pick this up and say, gosh, can you believe that we didn't know the truth?
Right, exactly. It's like Interstellar, the conversation at the beginning about,
right.
The textbooks. This is an old textbook, and it's all wrong.
Yeah.
It's like people go, no. All this stuff you've been learning about the Nazis, it's all wrong. Look at Iron Sky. Look at Iron Sky: The Coming Race. This is what's going on.
This is the truth. It's all right below our feet. The truth is below us, in the hollow center of the Earth.
Oh, man.
I love it. I'm excited about it. So it is very much in development. So
they've been still. You can go to ironsky.net and learn all about it. Their blog posting. You can demand it come to your town. You can make donations to it to try to help them get it made. It's this group out of I think they're in Finland, and somehow they I don't know, they've become the Iron Sky people. And Timo Vuorensola. Yeah, Timo Vuorensola directed the first one, and I believe is directing this follow up. So. Yeah, we'll see. We shall see.
Awesome.
Ah, yes. Oh, so you know what, Pete?
Yeah.
So I need to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
I need to go check and see what condition my condition is in.
Wait, let me explain something to you. I am not Mr. Lebowski. I'm the dude. You know, that or his dudeness or duder or, El Duderino if you're not into the whole brevity thing.
Are you employed, Mr. Lebowski?
Employed?
Do you like sex, Mr. Lebowski?
Is this your only ID?
You got the wrong guy. I'm the dude.
Your name's Lebowski.
Jeff Lebowski, the other Lebowski, the millionaire. I received this ransom note this morning.
This is a bummer, man.
They want you to take the money and act as courier.
What do you mean, man? What the hell is this?
My dirty undies, dude. The whites. Let's take that hell! Why should we settle for 20 grand when we can keep the entire $1 million?
I know you're mixed up in all this.
Playing one side against the other in bed with everybody.
Blow on them.
Huh?
Fabulous stuff. What? Who's sitting on $1 million? We want some money. Sitting in the trunk of our car. Where's my damn money?
Say, dude, where is your car?
Who's got your undies, Walter?
This is a very complicated case, Maude. You know, a lot of ins, a lot of outs.
Is this your homework, Larry?
And I would like my undies back.
A lot of strands to keep in my head, man.
Whoa! Hey, careful, man. There's a beverage here, huh?
I like your style, dude.
I have no choice but to tell these bums to do whatever is necessary to recover their money from you.
They were Nazis, dude?
They were nihilists, man. They kept saying they believed in nothing. You figured, oh, here's a loser, a deadbeat.
Well, aren't you?
Well, yeah.
You cannot drag this negative energy into the tournament.
Jeffrey,
Maude,
love me.
that's my robe.
I'm throwing rocks tonight.
It don't matter to Jesus. This could be a lot more complex. I mean, it's not.
All right, Andy. Here it is. The Big Lebowski.
The big one.
Continuing our intermittent Coen Brothers honorarium with The Big Lebowski, 1998. Written and directed Joel and Ethan Coen, yada, yada, yada. Starring Jeff Bridges, Jeff Bridges, John Goodman, Julianne Moore, Steve Buscemi, John Turturro, Tara Reid, and many, many others. This, I am on the record as saying this is not my favorite Coen Brothers film. And I recognize that this draws the ire of many of the Lebowski fans. Mm-hmm. And you told me that you were excited to hear what I thought of the movie, seeing it again. This is now, I think, the third or fourth time I've been through it.
Okay.
I think. It's fine. I don't remember when my opinion was formed, but those movies, like there may be an ex-girlfriend in my history who really loved this movie, and we had a bad breakup, and so I don't like it. I mean, I'm willing to admit that, but I have such a difficult time connecting with this film as a piece. There are a lot of things about it that I like. Right, there are a lot of individual elements, a lot of characters I think that do a fun job in this film, but generally I have a really hard time connecting with it. So what I'm looking forward to tonight is for you to build a case that allows me to let go of the ex-girlfriend disdain of this film.
Wow, that's a lot of pressure.
Well, yeah, and I think rightfully so. That you like this film, so really it's on you to make me like it.
Well, okay. I don't know if it's really up to me, but I'll do my best.
All right.
I'll do my level best. It's, this is the Coen brothers, and we talked comedy about their stuff last week with Raising Arizona. I mean, they have a sense of humor that can really work or can be hard to connect with in their films. Raising Arizona certainly took a darker tale of this very funny comedy dealing with kidnapping a baby. This one is a really wacky comedy with a pothead who doesn't really like a middle-aged pothead who doesn't really do much other than bowl and be unemployed and hang out with his friends, and he gets wrapped up in this crazy Raymond Chandler-esque mystery that is just kind of very fun to follow as he kind of goes through this journey. And it's all in a way, it doesn't really amount to much, but it's just very fun. And then if you look at their other comedies, I mean, they try a wide variety of stuff. I mean, Lady Killers has some pretty outlandish performances as well. Burn After Reading, that's a level of comedy that they made that I don't get into. Like, I have a hard time with that one.
And that's one that I connected with.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where their comedy stylings really can be hit or miss with anyone. And The Big Lebowski did not hit with a lot of people when it first came out. It wasn't considered a success. I mean, it made its money back, but it wasn't considered a success. And it was it just kind of coming after Fargo, their crowning achievement. At the time, it was a big surprise that they came out with The Big Lebowski that was full of profanity and just kind of really out there story. But, people have connected with it over time, and the Lebowski fans have really tapped into this vibe that the dude projects that is very Zen master, and it has this he has this easygoing way of just kind of moving through life and moving through these situations that happen upon him. Even though he is trying to accomplish something, it's not like he's not doing anything, but I mean, he is very easygoing about all of it and just kind of moves very peacefully through it. And I think that's one of the things that draws people to it is just this idea of being like the dude and finding a way to tap into that Zen attitude with things. And then also the characters. I mean, there's just every character in here, I think, is an unforgettable character. I mean, starting with the dude, Jeff Bridges is brilliant in this character. John Goodman as Walter Sobchak is great. Donnie, played by Steve Buscemi. Every one of the characters fits perfectly in their role, and the lines that they have. I mean, this is probably the most quoted Coen Brothers film. I mean, because of things like the Lebowski Fests and all that have been birthed by love of this film. I think that this film is probably one of the ones that just people tap into the most. There's something about that kind of college age vibe that the film seems to project, even though it's about middle-aged people, that I think people enjoy watching and probably enjoy discovering at that time in their lives, kind of that college age years. And it becomes something that, kind of carries a way of life for them, a kind of a message for them to always kind of come back to. And I think that's why a lot of people have tapped into this film. I think that it's a really interesting film outside of that when you just look at what they've actually constructed as a film in and of itself. This idea of taking this guy who's really kind of just this deadbeat and finding a way to put him into a kind of a very muddy and complex mystery like a Raymond Chandler novel that is just has lots of directions going, lots of characters that kind of come up and change. The story shifts and changes direction constantly. There's double crosses, triple crosses, people getting hurt. The hero always gets slipped a Mickey. There's just all this stuff that's perpetually going on in these Raymond Chandler-esque novels, and taking somebody like the dude and putting him into that. I find it so fun to go through this mystery with him as he tries to play detective and tries to figure out what happened to the money and what he's going to do about his rug as he navigates all this and just tries to make it out the other side. And I don't know. I mean, it's a completely silly film, and it's one that when I saw the first time in the theater, I was like, okay. I think I felt the way that most people did. It didn't click with me. And it wasn't until I watched it a few more times that the humor really stuck out for me. And it has a sense of humor that is different than Raising Arizona, but it is, again, just so quotable, and it just sticks with me. And I just find myself laughing myself silly every time I watch it.
It's a funny way that you characterize this film, because I think I agree with you, and all of these individual elements I think are there is a certain amount of delight with them individually, and at the same time I have trouble connecting with the film. You bring up this idea of this film being it attracts the college age vibe, and yet it's a film about middle-aged guys or older who are dealing with middle-aged crises, right? And I think that's a really interesting angle on this film, particularly because of the history that each of these major characters, Goodman and obviously the dude, bring to their characters. One is a troubled Vietnam veteran, obviously dealing with some fairly serious PTSD at some level, and it manifests in this sort of manic rage that erupts from Goodman, which is just he is so ideal for that part. And you see him play that role in other, certainly in Barton Fink. That's the first thing I came back to, was his role in Barton Fink, and that just roller coaster that he takes you on. He's just wonderful at it. And he's just such a perfect physical specimen for that kind of role. So I'm delighted to watch him in this. And the same thing when you watch, you watch Bridges play this character who has been, truly an activist, to the point of it was the Seattle Seven, who was charged with inciting a riot to violence. This is something he actually had at one point a platform, right? His life's design was to exact change in the world, and to watch how his life has changed around that once he hits this sort of middle age, and what comes of all of his work to exact change is, I live in this kind of deadbeat apartment, and I'm really upset that this guy peed on my rug, because that rug, really tied the room together. Those are the things that I'm really attracted to in the film. But in so many respects, what I love, and we talked about this with, last week with Raising Arizona, there is something about the pacing of the cutting of Raising Arizona, of just the general tightness. I mean, it's tight as a drum. Everything feels like perfectly architected, and maybe that's one of the reasons I'm having trouble with Lebowski, is it feels as loose as the main character. It's just like flying high and wide over the story. And I know the Coens are on the record as saying, this is an homage, to this noir sort of ethic, which is that the scene is more important, or takes precedence over the story. So don't worry about the story so much. It's okay if you're going to get lost. Just live in the now. Enjoy what you're looking at right now, and you'll still get some chuckles out of the film. And I think I may be one of those that I'm unable to let go of my desire to really have a tighter story, a tighter cut. There's some, just a tighter experience. Is that crazy?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think that I think that it fits in just with like we were saying earlier, with the Coen comedies. Sometimes their humor it'll work, or the way that their comedy in a particular story will work better for some people than for others. And it seems like you get all of the stuff that goes along with this film. It's just the film itself just isn't your cup of tea.
That's fine. I think that's probably, and that makes me feel a little bit better about it. You say it's okay that I get it. I needed a little bit of approval.
No, it's I don't.
Daddy,
I mean,
tell me what you think of it, really.
You failed me.
Yeah. All right. What do you want to talk about next? You're the leader.
Well, I don't know. Let's talk about all the different people.
Well, let's talk about the people. Let's talk about the people in the context of the story, right? You want to try and just give a brief summary for those like me?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, again, like I said, the story is convoluted, and it doesn't matter that much. But basically, Jeff Lebowski, the dude, Jeff Bridges, randomly, he comes home and some thugs are in there. They pee on his rug and tell him that they want the money, and they leave. They realize, or the dude realizes that there's another Jeffrey Lebowski who is a wealthy millionaire, and they go to see him, and he is David Huddleston plays him, and they go to see him, and it's this whole it's so complicated. They want the money from him, and so they I don't know. As I tell this
more
story,
entertaining than I expected it to be.
I'm not really sure it makes sense to try to explain the story, because it doesn't make that much sense, and I don't know if it matters that much. I mean,
you're right. It's a mistaken identity.
Yeah,
comedy.
there's a kidnapping, or maybe a kidnapping. The dude is basically hired by the Big Lebowski, David Huddleston's character, to deliver this ransom. They don't know if this girl, his wife, was actually kidnapped or not. She may have kidnapped herself to try to make off with the money. She owes money to this porn king. She stars in his films. There's also these nihilists out there that are supposedly have kidnapped her and send a toe, which actually is one of their girlfriend's toes, but they're trying to make off with this money. And the dude is in the middle of... Oh, and then the dude's car gets stolen with the money in it, and by this, as it turns out, a high school kid, and they think that this high school kid has stolen the money, so now they're trying to figure out how they can get the money back from him. So...
Oh, and bowling.
And yes, and there's bowling. And that all is... going on, and again, like I said, in the end, it comes down to the fact that none of it really matters, except for the fact that the dude doesn't get his rug back. That's really the only thing that, when it comes around to the end, it's like, gosh, I wish that he had gotten a rug out of all of this at least.
Yeah. That's really funny, because it's like, this is a whole film of MacGuffins, right? I mean, every sequence they introduce something that you feel the slight urge to pay attention to that ends up not mattering at all.
Yeah.
Right? That's part of it. And it starts with the rug. You think that maybe the story's about the rug. It's about this deadbeat trying to get his rug back. But then he gets roped into this thing, and it turns out there's this rich guy who ends up not being rich at all. It ends up being this, Maud's money, but it turns out, do we really pay attention to her? Is it about the porn? Is it about her trying to conceive? Is it about, what is it that we need to pay attention to? And I think that's another reason that may cause, for those of us like me, that may cause a little bit of MacGuffin fatigue. In this film, there is a lot of busyness going on with each sequence, and I think part of it makes it fun in that sort of a stream of consciousness fashion, and some that doesn't work as well. The things that do work for me, the bowling stuff for me is wonderfully grounding, and the fact that we have this trio, this sort of foundational trio between Jeff Bridges, John Goodman, and Steve Buscemi, the dude Sobchak and Donnie. That ends up being a nice kind of a foundational gang. And so when you watch the arc of this gang and what these guys deal with together and how they treat one another, it makes it particularly touching when Donnie finally has his heart attack in the parking lot. And you get to watch this about 8-second sequence of Goodman saying, you got to go call the police or call the ambulance. I can't get in there. I don't quite understand it. He says, I'm pumping blood. I don't really understand why he can't move. If he thinks he's going to have a heart attack himself or whatever. But it ends up being a very touching sort of surprise transition that you do care about in the film, it's an important thing. It's an important milestone in the film that ends up being more important than all of the other garbage that they've been dealing with over the last 2 hours. Do you know what I mean? Like, it is the first sort of human moment that we get out of these guys, and then they have to deal with the death of Donnie, and that ended up being an important sequence for me.
Yeah, it's very touching, and likewise, and all of it also helps highlight the relationship between the key relationship in the film between the dude and Walter, very much kind of the two central figures of the story, and that moment when Donnie dies becomes this tragic moment in the trio, but also I think that extends nicely over to the next scene when they're I guess it's a couple scenes later, but when they're scattering Donnie's ashes at the sea, and Walter kind of takes this eulogy and kind of...
He explored the beaches of Southern California from Redondo to Calabasas.
But he kind of takes it and turns it into his own like Vietnam thing, and but then there's this animosity between Walter and the dude, but it's like a married couple sort of animosity, and there's something about them perpetually through the film that I think highlights this beautiful relationship that they have that is very, very human, and it's very realistic in the sense that people don't necessarily always get along, but it doesn't mean they can't be friends. It doesn't mean they can't still love each other and all that. And I think that despite I find it so powerful still when Walter dumps the ashes, screws up because the wind is blowing, and the ashes of Donnie blow back and kind of cover the dude. It's horrible. And then the dude is just so pissed at his friend and just berating him, and I can't remember what he says, but and Walter, at that moment, you see Walter in his most human state, as he's sad, as he's embarrassed by what he did, and he's upset at what he did and all this, and he's sorry, and then he hugs the dude, and it's like there's this very human moment there of that loss, and despite all of the pain or all of the arguing and all that sort of stuff, they actually can have this moment here where it's like acknowledging that they lost their friend.
Yeah, I really agree, and I think, and that's the sense I get. And tell me, like, don't you agree? Like, that is the sort of seminal grounding moment in this film that is otherwise a crazy ride.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Either that or hanging out at Jackie Treehorn's, one or the other.
You're gonna bring it. You got to bring it back to the crazy drugging, the montage.
Yes, the dream sequences.
I think that's anyway. That's why I wanted to start with that connection from the beginning, where we meet this foundational trio, to the end, where we lose Donnie and we get to see who these people really are, in spite of this crazy adventure that they go on. That I otherwise have some challenges with. I think, these two moments from beginning to end really connect the film, and if I'm going to connect to anything in it, that's going to be what it is.
Yeah.
So then you have some of the more serialized comic moments in the film are handled by my favorite trio of Peter Stormare Flea and Torsten Vogt of the Nihilists.
Yes,
which is awesome. They're actually really quite amusing to me.
Yeah, they are. The best part of the Nihilists is their actual final fight with them, when they're just like, because they want $1 million, and they're just like, well just give us what you have, and we'll call it even. And their huge threatening. I think it was threat number 2 or 3 when they went into the dude's place.
dropped a ferret in the bathtub. That was a pretty good moment. That was a pretty good moment.
Pretty awesome.
Anyhow, I was surprised to see Flea in there. Do we know how he ended up in this film?
I don't know how he ended up in this film, but I'm glad that he did, because he's just there's something about his face that just works really well as this nihilist.
Truly does. He's got a lot of credits, acting credits under his.
He was in one of the Back to the Futures.
Yeah, but My Own Private Idaho, and so it's Less Than Zero. It's been a long time. Anyway, he's been around a long time doing the acting thing. He's a multi-talented kind of guy.
Yeah.
Anyhow, and Peter Stormare.
Yeah, who he. I guess this was kind of a character that he was, or the Coen brothers kind of came up with on Fargo, because they would talk to Stormare on set and everything, and he would sometimes, just for fun, he would be speaking in a mock German accent, and so they kind of took that and created this character of Uli, and made him, and ended up kind of creating this whole trio of these nihilists, and the fact that they're musicians in, what is it, Autobahn? Is that the band that they're in? Even the album art was just fantastic. It just looked so like such a, I don't know, something about the album art for the Autobahn record that he pulls out just looked looked perfect.
AUTO. Their music is a sort of techno pop. Nagelbet, the album name.
Yeah.
Good. Anyhow,
and Amy Mann pops up as the girlfriend who gets the toe cut off.
Yes, looking not like Amy Mann.
Not at all.
That's pretty funny.
Yep.
All right, so we like the nihilists. Those are some highlights for me. The only other real highlight that in terms of performance that I've got, there are other good ones, like I said, but the one that just I do find myself laughing out loud is the late Philip Seymour Hoffman as Brandt. When the sequence when. Oh, what was this? This was an homage. It was what is the film when you put your lips together and blow? You know how to whistle, right?
No, that's
that film?
It's Bogey and Bacall.
Yeah, Bogey and Bacall. What's the film?
Is it To Have and Have Not?
I think it is.
Yeah.
You know how to whistle, don't you? Anyway, that's what it appears at least to be an homage to that film, where she says, just blow on the toenails, toenail polish, and the laugh that Hoffman gives as that scene plays out when he gets increasingly uncomfortable is really one of my favorites. I actually for a few days I took a screenshot of his smile, and that's been my wallpaper on my computer. As he's uncomfortably trying to dash this moment out.
I also love the moment when he's it's like he's in mourning when David Huddleston is talking about just his loss and all that sort of stuff, and Philip Seymour Hoffman is in the back, just his lips are so tight that his face is like pinched red, as it's like he's seeming to be sad, but then when Huddleston calls to him, he snaps out of it instantly, and so it's like it's such a great act that he's constantly putting on for this guy that he's great. He's just great in the role, and it was fun to see him pop up in one of their the Coen Brothers films.
It was. I was surprised. I did not remember he was in it. Actually, I hadn't made that connection.
Yeah.
Anyway, your turn. Give me some.
Well, and I do love David Huddleston as the Big Lebowski. I think he's he's just one of those venerable old faces that I think just works well in so many great movies, and he's great. The Julianne Moore, I think, has a great an interesting affectation as far as her voice that she's kind of concocted as Maud Lebowski, the Big Lebowski's daughter. there's something that just strikes me about her character as being so Julianne Moore anyway that I don't think the Julianne Moore is swinging from the ceiling naked painting pictures or anything like that, but it feels like it feels like she's not that far off of her own personality. I don't know how true that is, but that's just maybe my impression of Julianne Moore.
It's funny. That's a part that I have trouble with. That just her role seems like in a film that's already out of nowhere, it's really out of nowhere. And I think it's because I have kind of a finicky relationship in my appreciation of Julianne Moore as an actress. There are some movies where I really, really like them, and others like this one where I find I can't help but watch it and think that it's like pretend. It's like a dress up kind of performance. It's so affected for her that I find it hard to buy.
You much rather watch her in The Lost World, right?
Well, jeez, why do you do that? Take it and make it just the worst.
I know.
I feel like in the trailer of we've got her coming up in Mockingjay, right? And she's I find the same thing. I watch the trailer and I'm like, I don't know how I'm supposed to be able to watch that. But then, like, what did I like her in? Really, what did I really like?
Well, she's great in Boogie Nights.
Yeah. See, there you go, right there. Even Children of Men, and I didn't like Children of Men at all.
What?
I know.
You're that person.
I'm the one.
Well, I think that she's generally great. I mean, there are times when I don't quite buy it.
Magnolia.
I
loved her in Magnolia.
Yeah, I think she's good. And Sam Elliott, we have to mention as the stranger, who I think is. It doesn't feel like he's playing anything too different from himself. He's the narrator, the old time cowboy guy, and he said that he didn't really have any clue as to what he was doing there, and he told the Coens, he's like, I'm happy to be here. I just can't figure out why I'm here or what I'm supposed to be doing, and they didn't have any answer for him either because they're just like, you're just that guy who comes in. And
there's a wonderful
very funny
quote. I think it's Ethan Coen who says one of the reasons they really love working with him is because he has such a big mustache that they can push the audio track around underneath him because you can't see where his mouth is lining up with the words.
Right.
And so you can edit the audio underneath him and nobody's the wiser that he's not really saying what it looks like he's saying. You can't tell.
That's funny.
I thought that was pretty good.
He does have the perfect look for it.
He does have the perfect look for it. A puzzling placement in this film. But if you're gonna go over the rails, you got to have it. And of course, he does get the he is the vessel for one of the quintessential quotable lines in the movie, as the dude is walking away at the very end. Yeah, well, the dude abides.
Yep.
The dude abides.
He's his part. When they wrote it, they were really trying to find a way, again, going back to the Chandler-esque vibe of the story, they were trying to find a way to kind of create that narrator, because so often in the stories, the protagonist would be like, talking to you. It'd be very almost first person. And they didn't want to do that, but they wanted to have almost kind of a way to tap into that narrator and have that as an element of the story. And so that's how they came up with this character who, again, he doesn't fit into the story so much like you said, but I don't know. There's something very pleasing about him being a part of it for me.
I guess if there's something that, you're right. There's this sort of emotional kind of warmth that you get out of just having him be a part
exactly.
of it.
And having him it's like, to me, it's like this outsider stepping into another world and having to try to make some sense of it. And it's the world of the dude. And so that's the person who he's connecting with, and despite the fact that he doesn't like that the dude swears so much and is such a kind of a lazy bum, it's like he he gets that's his vessel for tapping into this crazy world, and so it's an interesting perspective that they give to us of it's almost like he's telling us this story, but he's not. He's there almost helping us acknowledge that this story doesn't really make that much sense, and how even he only enjoyed parts of it anyway.
Yeah. Well, and that's the absurdist twist, right? Is that the film starts, we don't see him. He's just the omniscient voiceover, right? Mm-hmm. And we get him as the narrator. But when we see his face, that's akin to breaking the fourth wall of the film. That is our connection to the story, right? It brings us even further to let us know that, you know what, you've been in the story all along because I'm in the story.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really interesting sort of visual trick. By just showing us his face, we get a new relationship with the drama.
Yeah, I feel like other people have done that, but I can't think of any good examples of where you have a narrator that you hear, and then at some point, all of a sudden, the narrator's a part of the story.
Yeah, I think so. Well, it's funny that we say that, because Into the Woods is
right. That's I was just thinking about that. Wait a minute, Into the Woods.
You want to talk about John Turturro just briefly?
Yeah, I was going to say John Turturro. I think is his part is very small, but with it, he does a lot, and there's a lot going on in this really strange character that is somebody that is that you end up liking in as far as his character, even though as you learn more about him, he really is a despicable person. Yeah. This pederast who exposed himself to an 8-year-old. Just the shot of him as he's like having to go door to door and tell people in the neighborhood what he did. That shot when that guy opens the door, I mean, that's just great. I love that. But all the stuff he does with the bowling and his outfit and his hair and the way he licks the ball and his dance, everything I think is so much fun to watch. He is one of those shining bit characters that you just can't forget. I mean, it's so fun to watch, and the way that he shines his ball in that oddly almost sexual way. I mean,
he is, and seeing this film, I mean, it just makes me obviously, I already love Barton Fink and thought his role was terrifically understated and wonderful in that film, but it makes me really look forward to where we go next week. I think his performance in this is great because they set him up as, this is another MacGuffin, right? Because they set him up as the nemesis early on, and yet he's like nobody really cares at the end. Like he's this evil character who's only the nemesis in his own mind.
Yeah, exactly.
And I find that just hysterical. Like that is a wonderful little setup for Turturro's character, and it's really nice to see him in here.
Yeah, he's great in here. It's nice to have him. I mean, I don't.
Just how versatile is this guy to pull off this role, to go from a role like this where he's playing a Hispanic pederast to going to Oh Brother Where Art Thou, to going to, I mean, he's just an amazingly versatile character actor, to Transformers, for crying out loud.
Yeah, I know. He's all over the place, yeah. And he's just one of those people that he's always been able to jump around quite a bit, and he does a lot. And what is this? Is this how many? This was his second Coen Brothers film.
Oh,
right after.
Yeah, I think so.
After Barton Fink.
Yeah,
and then Oh Brother Where Art Thou, I think, is the last one, right? Oh no, Miller's Crossing. He's in Miller's Crossing. That was his first one. So yeah, Miller's Crossing, Barton Fink, Big Lebowski, Oh Brother Where Art Thou. I think that's it.
Yeah.
He and John Goodman both are kind of, those are definite Coen Brothers faces that they like to bring back time and time again. And that's something else This it's interesting because the Coen brothers are so good at casting faces in their films. We talked about that back in the No Country for Old Men. Just all the different bit characters that they have. And this is an interesting one because a lot of the films where they have these great faces are actually outside of the LA area. So they're capturing like great faces for, Texas or these areas. And here you've got this kind of crowd of people that they're casting for LA. And even though it was made in 98, it takes place in 91. So it's kind of a slight period film, but they still manage to cast interesting faces for the world that they're creating. And I love seeing like the John Turturro's bowling buddy that he's always with, or the landlord for the dude who pops in and then has that strange dance number later in the film, and or the thugs or anyone. I mean, you get these great people. Like the rug peeing Chinaman who comes in, right. They all still work really well. And when you have a film that deals with kind of some broad characters and you have them doing all these crazy things, it really helps when you have faces that are very easy to identify. So
Did
that
you say John Polito?
I didn't say John Polito. The great PI.
He's so great. He's in this in such a short stint, but driving the VW Bug, right? Harkens back to Blood Simple. It's a wonderful little bit.
It is very fun. They all do a great job in this film.
The speaking of it being a period film, I hadn't put it all together, I admit, on my own, but the clue of the date on the check that he writes in the milk.
Right.
Did you catch that?
For 69 cents?
For 69 cents?
No, I didn't.
It was 9/11/91, exactly 10 years before 9/11, the 9/11 in the United States. And what was on television at the time was George Bush the senior talking about how this will not stand and we're going after Saddam, and it was all, I mean, it was weirdly prescient.
Yeah.
That opening sequence of this film was so 9/11 focused.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, creepy.
Well, and that I think is an interesting lead into just kind of the place that this film now kind of has made for itself in its post theatrical release, as far as now there's this huge cult following. You've got the Lebowski Fest happening every year, starting up in 2002. It started in Louisville, Kentucky, with like 150 fans, and it's been growing every year, and to the point where I think in the last couple of years, Jeff Bridges and Julianne Moore attended. I mean, just all these different people actually go to this huge thing. It's a big event now, and they bowl, and they have costume contests, and it's not like a costume contest where you're just dressing up like the dude or Jackie Treehorn or whoever it is. You're dressing up like a carton of cream for a White Russian, or you're dressing up like Bunny's toe. It's like people are really trying to find things that haven't been done before, and so they end up just coming up with the most outlandish costumes, and it's really funny if you look at some of the costumes. Somebody actually made a documentary a few years back. What is it called? It's a documentary about the cult of the Lebowski Fest. I think it's called The Achievers, because they call themselves the Achievers. And
that's good.
And that's just this. I mean, then they also have Dudism, which is this online religion that was created that spreads the philosophy and lifestyle of the dude that was founded, and it's also known as the Church of the Latter-day Dude. And they have ordained over 220,000 Dudist priests all over the world through the website.
Wow.
So that's very weird. But then beyond that, then you have people online just analyzing this film to death. I found this website that talks about scholars and The Big Lebowski and how all these people are deconstructing it. And they mention in this that there's this book called This Year's Work in Lebowski Studies, a 2009 collection that has 21 essays inspired by the film. It's like, okay, that's crazy that just in 2009 there were 21 essays just in that year alone. And so it's, you think about the different takes that people are having as far as political messages, and that's exactly like what you just said. It's like, and obviously that was completely not intentional. There's no way they could have ever known that by picking that date something would happen. But it's interesting that somebody can now analyze that and look at that and look at the politics of the people involved and the humor involved and the situation of the world with George Bush and Kuwait and all this going on at the time, and bowling and the psychological analysis of the Zen way of the dude. And it's become this very strange kind of cult following that I don't think anybody clearly expected, but I don't know. I find it really fascinating.
I agree with you, and to support my my agreement, I vow to uphold the principles of dudism, to just take it easy, to be dude to everyone I meet, and to keep my mind limber. I affirm that upon this click ordination as a dudist priest is for me and not for someone else or my dog or whatever. That's right, I'm doing it right now. I'm getting ordained.
Wow.
Right here on, this is a live dudist ordination.
Fantastic.
We're not allowed to ordain our friends without their knowledge. Not only is that against the league bylaws, but we get spam complaints from people who didn't want to receive an ordination. I'm doing it. I just clicked it. I think it's fascinating. It's a fascinating sort of cultural symbol too, right? That, I got a certificate. I'm certified now.
Wow! Kudos.
I've been ordained by the church.
Let's toast our White Russians to it.
That's right. I could print it right now. I'm doing it. I'm going to print it on parchment.
That is so funny.
And you can buy a gold sealed version of it at the Dudism store. It's an interesting sign, isn't it, of what we sort of culturally need in the world, that this is something that takes off. It's the same. You get the same sort of discussion around Jediism.
Yeah.
And what we ascribe meaning to enough that it becomes a quote unquote faith. And I think it's fascinating. It's still a movie.
It is. When you look at the movie is the movie, but it clearly has taken a step beyond that to create a way of life, a mentality, which is interesting. But yeah. But in the end, it is just a movie.
It's still just a movie. It's a good one,
and I love it. I love it.
You love it. Well, okay. Do you have anything else you want to talk about in particular before we jump into the final minutia?
Yeah, a few things. We should mention that.
Can we talk about Deakins? Are you going to do that first?
That's who I was going to mention, Roger Deakins. Right. Yeah. One of his many collaborations with the Coen brothers. He has done most of their films since he kind of took over for Sonnenfeld. And they wanted a very just kind of realistic look to this, and I think it works really well all through the film. But then obviously it has its moments where it kind of steps into the little more fantastical, particularly around the dream sequences. And I think he does a great job of playing with the light. One of my favorite moments in the film is toward the end, as the dude and Walter are racing to Pasadena to confront the Big Lebowski about the fact that this whole, the briefcase full of money, there really was no money in it and all this. And as they're driving, you've got the lights passing by and dropping them into darkness. And as the dude is explaining what he thinks actually happened, and it drops into darkness, it fades up on a moment of of The Big Lebowski putting telephone books in the briefcase or whatever it is, and then that drops to black, and then it comes back up with them in the car and all that. And I loved the way they played with light in there to kind of jump us into those flashbacks and kind of use that as a transition.
I absolutely agree. I thought it was really nice visually, but the one that really strikes me, well, there are several different uses of this, is the bowling ball camera. I know this is one that's talked about, but I think it's a really fascinating kind of that bowling ball eye view, and we get that a lot. We get that, and it carries through to some other visual kind of caricatures in the film. So we're either in the bowling ball as we're rolling sort of head over feet down the bowling alley and into the pins, or we're sliding from the dude's view, or just parallel to the dude, kind of he is the bowling ball. We get that,
right.
and then suddenly that in those dream sequences when we get him, now he's sliding down the alley between the legs of the, I don't know, Trojan cheerleaders, I guess.
And what did they call them? I can't remember what they called those ladies, but
I'm sure they have a name I missed. But in any case, like, I really love the way they give us that perspective of bowling, and it's one of those things that's so fascinating that bowling has become the foundation of the visual style of the film. It's such an interesting way to sort of plant your sort of visual seed, so to speak. So this is going to be a film that we're going to just really capitalize on the bowling and the bowling ball, and everything around it's going to be bowling, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, it is. And again, it's nice to see that even though they've changed from Sonnenfeld to Deakins, they've continued their love for moving cameras, which I think is an important element always of Coen's films.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's that he really capitalized on this idea that there isn't. I mean, just even in the examples we've just talked about, there isn't an example of a single sort of visual theme of the film or style of the film. Like, he's all over the place.
Well, I think for the most part, it's fairly normal, though. Like, I don't think it goes too crazy, except for the dream sequences.
Well, and that's what I mean. Like, the dream sequences or the bowling sequences, which don't happen in the dreams, or then we get into the much more sort of film noir. Anytime we're in his apartment, we get many more of the sort of low angles, or when we go to the, when we go to see The Big Lebowski, it just sort of, you just kind of get a different feel of the space by use of light and camera. And I think that's that's one of the things I really like.
Yeah, absolutely.
The variety.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I also love the music, not just Carter Burwell's music, and again, he's their go-to guy for music, but all of the songs. This is one of the most crazy eclectic mixes of songs, and I have such a great time listening to it. I mean, some of it I have a hard time listening to on its own, but in context of the film, I think every track works perfectly. And this is where they first started working with T-Bone Burnett, who he becomes a very big part of Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, and some of their later films. This is where they first worked with him, and he ended up helping them find some real interesting gems that you don't hear too often. And that's what I love, is, you're not hearing the standard Bob Dylan track that everybody always plays in their film. You're getting this more interesting Bob Dylan track that isn't one that normally jumps out, but it works perfectly in context of the film. And so T-Bone Burnett, who he was the music archivist, is the title they gave him on this. Great place to start here, and he'll be in our conversations soon.
I love the bit, the cab near the end. They're listening to Hotel California.
That's so funny.
And he says, "I hate the Eagles, man," and he kicks him out of the cab. That's a little musical reward.
That's hilarious. That is a great moment.
It's hilarious.
And that's actually because there's a what is the song that they it's over the end credits. I can't remember what it is right now, but they wanted the rights for that song and they couldn't get it. And the here it is. Klein is the cover of the Rolling Stones' "Dead Flowers," and Town Van Zandt covers it. And the former Stones manager, Alan Klein, owned the rights to it, and he wanted this ridiculous amount of money. And T-Bone Burnett had him watch the film, and Klein said when it got to the part where the dude said he hates the Eagles, Klein said, "All right, that's perfect. You can have the song. Here it is," and he gave it to them for free. So that's great.
That's great.
Yeah, I love that.
That's really good.
So yeah, the music's great. Production design is great. I mean, costume design is great. A lot of the costumes for the dude actually were Jeff Bridges' own outfits, which I think is pretty funny.
That's my robe.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, so that's, I think that's most of that stuff. I think the only other thing I really wanted to, I had some trivia for you.
Oh, do it.
Okay, how many times do we see the dude bowl?
I don't think we see him once.
That's right, he never bowls in the movie. How many times is the word dude used in the film?
Oh, I have no idea. That's not even cool.
162 times.
Let me actually see. Hang on a second. I have the script up here. I want to do a find and replace.
Let's see. While you're doing that, how many times is the F word or a variation of it used in the film?
Oh, well.
Would you say more than the dude or less than dude?
I would say less than dude.
Actually, more. 285 times.
Well, that's interesting.
And how many times does the dude say man? 198 times.
That's pretty good. Now, just to give you an idea, according to like the script, and this is not the final shooting script, but man shows up, and this also shows up not just in the dialogue. So obviously we have all the.
You mean dude or man? Are you searching?
No, this is man. Shows up 218 times in the screenplay.
Mm-hmm.
Dude shows up 841 times.
Wow. Well, that's also because his name is Dude.
Yeah, exactly. And so
right.
all the other text. So, and then the F word shows up 250 times.
Yeah.
And that shows up. That is, I imagine they don't. I haven't read the entire script. I've been skipping around, but I imagine that is only the dialogue.
Yeah. Right. I would imagine so too.
That's funny. That's really funny. Dude.
Yes.
It's an ethos. All right. Is that it? Let's talk. You want to talk about money?
Yeah. This film, I mean, like I said, it didn't lose money. It cost $15 million to make. They spent another $13 million in prints and advertising. So $28 million, which in today's dollars is about $40 million that they spent on this thing. It ended up domestically grossing about $17.5 million, and internationally almost $29 million. So, its adjusted gross, all told, is about $66 million. So it ended up making money, but at the time it was considered, kind of considered a loser. And it wasn't until, it's in the area with Scoop and The Fisher King on our list of rankings. So, something that kind of came in right in the middle ground. Like, it made money, but nobody's too excited about, it didn't lose any money, I guess. So that's what makes people excited. Mm-hmm. And, this cult status has just kind of grown and grown and grown. That has really helped it break out of the zone of forgettable films and into something that is much bigger now. So it'll just keep cranking out, keep making money a little bit here and there.
Well, I think we should rank it.
All right, let's do it.
Head over to flickchart.com/thenextreel and see if your favorite films match our favorite films, and we'll see If we can even line up on this one.
I know, this is going to be a tricky one. All right. The Big Lebowski or Carrie?
Huh.
I
I'd probably watch Lebowski first.
All right. The Big Lebowski or City of God?
City of God.
I would definitely watch Lebowski first, but I'll give you City of God because it's a pretty amazing film. The Big Lebowski or 28 Days Later? I would do The Big Lebowski for sure.
All right, line it up.
All right, you ready?
Uh-huh.
One, two, three, rock.
Well, now wait a minute. You held off there. You were trying to get me.
I wasn't. I even said it first.
Okay, let's do it again. Ready?
One, two, three, rock.
Scissors. Dang, why would you do the same one again?
Because that was my little psychological game I was playing.
That is an number one dumb move. You win this one.
All right. The Big Lebowski or The Prestige? I'd still do Lebowski.
Really?
I would.
We really like The Prestige.
We did. It makes me laugh. I don't know. Maybe I give it more.
When they do that thing to the bird with the cage, that's funny.
Laugh riot. They should have put that on the poster. It's a laugh riot.
It's a laugh a minute. Okay, you can have Lebowski on this one.
All right. Lebowski or An American Werewolf in London?
Lebowski.
All right. I'll go with Lebowski too. Lebowski or Das Boot?
Das Boot.
Yeah, it's a beefy one, but I'll give you Das Boot. All right, look at that. Number 45.
All right.
Number 45 didn't climb quite as high as Raising Arizona did last week, but
and rightfully so.
Well, yeah, rightfully so. Raising Arizona is definitely my favorite comedy of theirs, and I probably would put Big Lebowski at second.
I don't know that I could say that because where do we go next week?
I know. Next week we're going to be.
I am a man.
Take it away, Pete.
You were saying?
Oh, brother, where art thou?
Of constant sorrow.
Wow. You should be. You should have been a soggy bottom boy, Pete.
I am right now. A little bit. Oh, wait. That came out wrong.
Didn't need to know that, Pete.
I like this movie, but this is one of those movies where all the pieces really line up.
It's a great film. It's very funny. Plus, I think they did something really inspired by taking the Odyssey and turning it into this film.
Yeah.
I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Looking forward to it. So we're doing that next week, and
that's the end. That's the end of this.
That's the end of our
brief little Coen comedy series.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. All right. I gotta go to bed.
All right, I'm gonna go turn on Songs of the Whale.
Mine is a 2-star.
Okay.
Pete Roche from Helena, Montana writes this review. And this is fairly recent, October 11th, 2014. I saw this movie advertised 14 years ago and read some favorable reviews more recently. Finally, seeing it for sale for $5, I bought it. I spent 2 hours watching this cruddy flick. It was 2 hours wasted. It's a movie about a worthless slacker, an unemployed druggie, Lebowski, alias The Dude, who is the prey of several groups of gangsters because of a case of mistaken identity. Big Lebowski's a phony tycoon married to a jailbait tramp. None of the characters are worth a damn, except for the mysterious stranger played by Sam Elliott, who shows up now and then to make pithy comments. The story goes nowhere, and the dude ends up not much worse for wear, but no better either, and at the end of 2 hours. Michelangelo Antonioni did this sort of thing better in 1966 with Blow Up. Save your $5 and save 2 hours of your life. Remember, your time is limited. Once it's wasted, you'll never get it back.
Heavy.
The dude abides.
Wow, does he actually end it with that?
No, I did that.
I was going to say, that seems like odd throwing that in there.
That was all me. I thought that sort of turned it around. I wanted to end it on a happier note.
Okay. Well, here's mine. This is a 1-star.
Oh.
Yeah.
Were there any that weren't talking about the stupid DVD?
Yeah, most of them are talking about the DVD or the issues that it has. This is by George J. Nighthawk. George J. Nighthawk in Colorado. 1-star, really a cult movie. This may be a cult favorite, but I'm not in that cult. Definitely weird, but not funny. I was hoping for a comedy. The dude abides.
The dude abides.
Andy, it is hard to believe that we have been having in-depth weekly conversations about movies since 2011.
You are telling me. Producing this show week after week requires a ton of work behind the scenes. If you'd like to help support our efforts, one easy way is by using our Originals page when shopping for books and movies that we've covered.
Just visit thenextreel.com/originals. Your purchases made through our links give us a small commission at no extra cost to you and allow us to keep having these great discussions.
I love The Next Reel Season 4. Do you know why?
I don't. Why?
Because we got to talk about my favorite movie, Terry Gilliam's Brazil.
That's not even an adaptation.
No, but it was such a great part of our great Terry Gilliam series, and a few others in that series were adaptations, like The Adventures of Baron Munchausen, adapted from Raspi's stories, and La Jetée, which inspired 12 Monkeys.
Oh, right. And for our Man with No Name trilogy, we saw how Sergio Leone's A Fistful of Dollars was basically stolen from Kurosawa's Yojimbo.
We added Labor Day to our Jason Reitman series, adapted from Joyce Maynard's novel.
Oof, there's one we'll always regret.
Our big Stephen King series covered adaptations like The Shining, Cujo, Christine, and Stand By Me, great horror and coming-of-age tales.
Another Coen Brothers adaptation, too. We got to talk about how they turned Homer's The Odyssey into Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou?
For our holiday series, we did The Bishop's Wife and The Poseidon Adventure.
And who could forget seeing Alec Guinness in the adaptation of Kind Hearts and Coronets during our series dedicated to him.
We really need to do more of his films.
Truly.
We had our first film noir series with classics like Double Indemnity, Detour, and Out of the Past.
And our black and white cinematography of James Wong Howe's series with The Thin Man, Sweet Smell of Success, Seconds, and King's Row. So many adaptations.
Oh, you're not kidding. Dive deeper into these originals and more at thenextreel.com/originals. Every book you buy helps support our show.
Get the full list at thenextreel.com/originals and start reading today.